Welcome back to Southwest Florida Unlocked. I am Adrienne Bray. I'm a licensed realtor with Real Brokerage. All opinions that I will share are my own. I have a thing with clickbait and it drives me bananas. Like, I get it. It gets people to the whole purpose to click on it. But it really does me gets me real riled up when things are just so clickbaity. In this video, we are going to discuss and walk through and look at the data points from a Wall Street Journal that was recently published on July 1st, 2025. It was written by Deborah Acosta. Sorry if I say your last name incorrectly. The title of that article: The worst housing market in America is now Florida's Cape Coral. Home prices have been battered by everything from overbuilding to insurance cost. Realtors warn there's further to fall. Dum dum dum. It's a really long title, so let's get to it. I'll try to remain neutral, but really this is my opinion, and I just find a lot of the things she said to be just, some of them are not, they're not wrong, they're not incorrect. Like, I could never be like, oh, I could go to court and she said incorrect things per se. They're just very generic or very hyperbolic, like grand statements that, like everyone does this and everyone says this, and that's not the case. So without further ado, let's get to it. I'm gonna pop up my screen. I'm gonna put myself in a little tiny bubble, and then let's walk through it. We are looking at my Lee County Public Library access of the Wall Street Journal because I refuse to pay for it myself. Hashtag frugal. Here's the article. You can see this is the actual text from it. So it starts out with, they came down in droves via Zoom. Everybody was meeting in Zoom. It didn't matter which market you were in. Majority of places required you to not meet in person. So if you were meeting with as an agent, if you were meeting with clients, the only way to meet face to face was to do it via Zoom. That probably sounds a little snarky, but I feel like the setup of that is like, yeah, no kidding, everybody did. Thousands found an inexpensive slice of paradise in Cape Coral, city with more canals than anywhere else in the world. I know, that's what makes it awesome. House hunters were so taken with this boating community on Florida's west coast that many purchased homes sight unseen during the early years of the pandemic. Again, yeah, we weren't allowed, hold on, continue working. We weren't allowed to travel. So yes, a lot of people were forced into a situation where they had to purchase sight unseen. They used their licensed realtor to walk through, eyes and ears. Really good ones did a great job of making sure that people went into their purchase eyes wide open. I'm sure there were probably some bad apples out there that didn't do such a great job. I had clients that did purchase sight unseen, and they were very happy with their purchases. The median home price soared nearly 75% to $419,000 in 3 years, transforming the character of this middle-income community that for decades has catered to retirees and small investors. Okay, so the median home price soared to nearly 75%. I would say that's not necessarily a bad thing that you had, that your home soared in value. I don't think that in and of itself is bad. I have some calculations though, so we could see actual numbers. She doesn't really reference like where she's getting her numbers from, but I took kind of the beginning of the pandemic, which was 2022, to kind of that height, that surge pricing in 2022. If you look at these prices here, these are the median price sold in Cape Coral, and then this is the calculation. So we saw the lowest point of 53% increase and probably the highest point up to 75%. So in the Cape, we have homes that are located on canals, and then we have homes that are located not on canals. The homes that are located on canals, you have two different types. You've got the kind that can go out to the Gulf, and then you've got the other kind that don't have Gulf access, but they kind of can tool around within the city. I've actually broken out the numbers based on homes that are Gulf access and also have a pool. So you can see the difference in values between those home prices. Most numbers, especially for articles like this, don't differentiate between the two types of properties, and it's very important because if you're coming to Cape Coral because you're expecting to, like, everyone has Gulf or everyone has the ability to be on water, that's not the case. And everybody who is on water doesn't necessarily have access to the Gulf. So if we take this exact same data pull but put the filter on that says show me homes that have a pool, as well as show me homes that have ability to get to the Gulf, then our change in price, so if you look here, just as an example, January of 2020 was 245,000 was the median home price. But if you go to that same data pull for that same January 2020, that price was 489. So huge difference in prices if you are actually able to get to the Gulf and your home has a pool. You would think most homes have a pool, but they don't necessarily. So just that's huge. And then for those types of homes, we saw, let's see, the bottom of that was a 50% price increase. And then the highest surge price would have been 87%. And I'm saying surge price just so you can, the difference between the value pre-pandemic, or I guess I should say during the pandemic year, and then 2 years later, apples to apples. And then so now 3 years later, for sale signs line every block. Open houses are deserted for hours. Foreclosures are ticking up. Home builders are listing half-built shells. So let's break that down a little bit. So now 3 years later, for sale signs line every other block. I feel like that's just a subjective comment. But we can actually look at how many homes are on the market 3 years later. Let's go to the numbers, shall we? So again, if we look at, let's see, active counts. So if you are, so this is the chart of historic count of active listing. So the number of homes that were listed as active, single family homes that were listed as active, going back to 2015, because I broke these out, this is like 10 years of data. So every month, every year, blah, blah, blah. So if we look at, actually, you know what? I didn't change the title on here. So let's undo that because that's going to make it hard to see for you. This one is, so the column G is 2020. So let's just quick change that so you can see it. So in 2020, January, of course, we didn't really have the pandemic happening quite yet. February and March is when things really started to happen. So we had 2,576 homes on the market in March, going all the way down to, in December, 1,671 homes that were listed as active on the market. This contributed to an increase in price because there weren't enough homes on the market because people were moving here and people weren't moving from here. As opposed to today, for month ending June, so starting into July, we have 3,808 homes on the market listed as active. So if you go from active 2025, you go back 5 years to June of 2020, we had 2,276 homes, and we now have 3,808. That's an increase, not an insignificant increase, but I would say, it's an increase. But if you look at from the beginning of this year till now, we actually are going down in the number of active listings. And that'll be interesting to see what happens in July. So for us, our peak or most active, active The market activity peaks during the winter, during the vacation months when people are down here and they're like, oh my gosh, this is a dream. I would like to move here. I serve a lot of those people. And then during the summer, when a lot of the snowbirds go home and vacationers are not here, then we have a much slower market. And if we have a much slower market as far as active buyers are concerned, and we still have the same number of people putting their homes on the market, well, then that's where you start to see that kind of tip of buyers to a seller's market or sellers to a buyer's market. But the numbers you'll see kind of will reflect that when we go to the sales numbers. Have more homes on the market. Open houses are deserted for hours. Well, we are in low season currently, so I guess depending on the type of home that you're listing, when the open house is, how much advertising the agent did to get people in the door for an open house. I mean, an open house takes a lot more work than just put a sign out that says open house, come see it. You got to do a lot more work than that. So, and again, is that a really good marketing tactic to list your home or to hold an open house during a non-peak market? I don't know. It could depend. All right, foreclosures are ticking up. We can actually go take a look at the numbers. So if we look at, I'm going to actually bring you into my data. So we are going to look at all of the Cape. Let's look at, doesn't have to be a pool. It doesn't have to be Gulf access, but we want to see foreclosures. Yes, please. Hold on, make sure we got 10 years on here because I like a lot of years. Yes. Generate. Okay, thank you. Okay, so same thing. Let's export you out so we can take a peek. In all of, okay, this is another one. So let's rewind back to 2020, the land of insanity times. Okay, if you recall, there was a moratorium. Is that the right word? You weren't able to have foreclosures happen to homes during the pandemic. So I think that happened, actually, it's probably going to coincide with some of these numbers here. I feel like it happened like the mid to late 2020. Anyway, but that's reflected here. You can see that, you know, the number of homes that were listed as active that were foreclosures was a pretty low number as compared to, like, say in 2015, 217, 201, 99, etc., and then 2016. So the number of homes that have been listed as active foreclosed are less. I'm sure there's something to say to that, but anyway, the numbers went down, like, because you couldn't foreclose on homes. So now, because you can foreclose on homes, the number of homes listed that would be a listed active foreclosed is going to go up, because that just makes sense. It's going to be able to go up. Now, if we just isolate like 2024 to 2025, yeah, that number's gone up. But I don't know if 2018, 16, 12 listings in a city the size of Cape Coral is something to sound the alarm bells. Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. And then let's also take a look. I don't know if it's going to make a difference, but let's throw those parameters on again. So let's make sure we're at all Cape Coral, foreclosed, yes. Homes that have a pool, yes, and can reach the Gulf. Now, a lot of these, a lot of homes that were purchased during this like pandemic surge of people moving here were actually cash buyers, so they would be a lot more insulated from the ability or the potential for foreclosure. But I'm not even going to export this. Yeah, I mean, we've got 1, 1, 2, 2, like, we're nothing numbers here. So locals say the lack of traffic has led to an increase of vehicles speeding. So I want to know actually who she interviewed as far as saying locals saying lack of traffic, because if you go on any of the Cape Coral community boards, they would say the opposite. And then has led to an increase of vehicles speeding through empty residential streets. I mean, I don't know who she talked to or who she asked, but I don't think that's the case. I guess we could pull Cape Coral City Police tickets, but I would be shocked if we are seeing an increase in speed because of lack of traffic. Doubtful. Some agent says his opinion is that we're in the worst housing market in America right now. I don't think we're at the bottom yet. Okay. Is he running numbers? I don't know what he's doing to come up with that, but it's his opinion, so he's allowed to have that. I don't know why that would be included in a worst housing market in America recap when it's just one agent of, I forget how many licensed agents we have here in Florida, let alone the city of Cape Coral, but it's a lot, and his opinion, I don't know. Home prices for Cape Coral have tumbled 11% in the 2 years through May, the most of any major metro area, according to the analysis using the site homelistings.com. Okay, so we're going to go and take a look at that spreadsheet where I pulled the numbers. I would also like to see the most of any major metro area. Could we have a comparison? Like, is that data able to be shared in this article? I didn't see it anywhere. I want to see that comparison. So let's take a look at the home prices. Let's hit a pause button for 1 second. So I like to look at numbers two ways when I meet with my clients. In Cape Coral, we are a city of canals. We have the most canals. They even said that in the article. But those homes that are on a canal that's not Gulf access would have a lower price point than, say, a house that has the ability to get to the Gulf. And then another step further, we also have homes that are located on no canals whatsoever. So this spreadsheet that we're looking at behind me is the total single family median sales price for Cape Coral. I've also pulled, if you were, and also you have homes that do have pools and those that don't. So I also pulled this same data graphic for the same time period, but I added in the filters of the home has a pool and the home is Gulf access. So if you look at this most recent sales ending month, June of 2025, the median sales price in Cape was $371,850. Now put the parameters on that you have Gulf access and you have a pool, that number jumps to $750. So we really have to look at the numbers in kind of two groups, if you will. You've got the city in its entirety, and then you've got the group pulled out that you actually have the ability to be on the Gulf, because not all homes are on the Gulf. And I think that maybe some of where this article is like doing all this hubbub is with the assumption that all homes are the same. They're not. I forgot what we were going to go look at. Okay, so that they've tumbled 11% in 2 years through. Okay, well, we were just looking at the home prices, and while they are definitely lower than they were 2 years ago, 2 years ago was at that surge price. So when you have huge supply and a little bit less of the demand, prices are going to be crazy high. And right now, we don't have that much we don't have that much demand. Like, the demand isn't here. It's kind of decreased, partially because we're also in slow season. People aren't moving to Florida when it's summer, necessarily. So that supply goes down, that demand goes down. And if the supply is up, well, the prices are going to need to come down. They need to regulate to what the market is willing to pay for the product. And right now, that's a little bit less. It's kind of basic economics. Home prices have declined for 12 out of the past 13 months, and 52% of the homes have experienced price cuts. Okay, well, I just talked a little bit about the price cuts. So here's another thing. So aside from the supply and demand conversation, people are still thinking that they can get the prices that were that peak price, and they can't. We're not in that perfect bad storm of the surge of people moving and people willing to pay whatever they could to get out of wherever the heck they were coming from, paired with not enough homes to purchase here. We're just not in that. We've got more homes for sale than there are people looking to buy, and that creates a market where you have to be priced more competitively. And also you can't price at a price point that homes are not closing at. So I think it's an education by their listing agents, and the listing agents need to be willing to be like, yeah, no, it's just not going to sell for that, and we're not going to put the homes on the market. So the inevitability of pricing your home too high in a market that's only willing to pay, somewhere below that number is you have to come down to it. So you're going to see those price decreases. I could run the numbers and see if it's 52%. I don't think it was 52% because I'm still seeing like 96 to 97% list to sale price ratio. So that makes me question that number. But the other one that I want to take a look at is the area's home prices declined 12 of the past 13 months. Sales price, list price ratios. Sales price, list price ratio. So this is probably something I should pull out for you. I'm not sure why we've got some points in the data that are blank, but right here. So 96%. So what this means is the closed price to list price. So if you listed at $100,000, you're closing at $96,000. So you took a $4,000 lower price than what it was listed at. Interestingly enough, May actually homes sold for the median. Homes sold for more than their list price. And then we've got April at 95, 98, 94, 97, 90%. This is a pretty low one. That's 10% lower. But again, I think people were still trying to list a little too high. 88%, same thing right here. So this would be probably the worst number that I see for the most recent time, which would make sense because February of 2024, people were probably still really trying for those 2023, 2022 price points. I mean, look at this. We're getting 115%. So you were getting over what you listed for, 105% over what you listed for, 102 over, 113. I mean, yeah. We do also have some months where that was not occurring, but the majority of the time in that 2021, 2022 timeframe, you were getting more, and that's what made the prices go up and up and up. And now the prices are not doing that, so you're not able to ask those same high price points. That is more than nearly anywhere in the U.S. Neighboring communities are in a similar bind. Again, they're just using comparisons that don't necessarily make sense, but has the most homeowners underwater in the country, with nearly 8% owing more on their mortgages than their homes are worth. So I guess I would like to see their data point because, again, we have a lot of homeowners in Cape Coral that purchased before 2021, as well as a lot of cash buyers, so there wouldn't be mortgages. So I guess if we're looking at only homeowners that purchased during that time frame, potentially that's a statement that makes sense. I don't know. I would want to see that number. This guy, Sing Back from Above, recently hosted an open house. Okay, well, what kind of marketing did you do? I don't know. This home bought 3 years ago by an investor looking to rent on Airbnb, is fully furnished and has a pool. Asking price was $675,000, but the seller has cut it to less than $500,000, about $100,000 below the purchase price. Okay, so if you bought the home 3 years ago for $600,000, based on what this is saying, right? So it's now listed at $500,000, $100,000 below what they paid for it. So $600,000. Why are we listing it at $675,000 when the market's stating that we're not having that big of an increase in just 3 years? I would say probably wasn't priced correctly, and that's why we've had 0 offers. And then it says been on and off the market for a year. Well, when you're not on the market, you can't sell. You're not on the market. So, okay. we're cutting the price further tomorrow. Sounds like you need to. Sounds like that was a difficult conversation and you probably should have been priced at this price point already. Okay. I don't know him. I don't know what happened there, but that's my gut. Grappling, including high mortgage rates. Well, yeah, the high mortgage rates are high. That's true. Metro areas of about 800,000 is feeling the effects of elevated home prices, ballooning insurance, and property taxes. Natural disasters remove. Yeah, the return of for office. So a lot of people did move here because they were able to work from home, and then a lot of companies that said that they were going to keep those policies changed. The government, I guess, I don't know if they ever said that it was going to stay that way, but yeah, a lot of people moved because they could work from anywhere and then found out they couldn't, so now they had to sell, so they're leaving. And then yeah, so I sure, I don't know. Yeah, I guess I don't know where that's just Cape Coral. At the height of the recent Florida migration frenzy, Lee County had 3,500 homes available for sale. Now there are 12,000. Well, we just looked at that. That's not correct. Are they looking at the county as an entirety? Like where Cape Coral, the county where, so maybe it's the entire county, but that doesn't help when your article's saying Cape Coral. Don't know what to tell you there. So much supply, very little demand, seller base, where over 50% are cutting prices, I would expect. This is just whatever this data lab, I don't know. We just looked at it and that's not necessarily true. I don't get it. And then this couple live in one of most sought after neighborhoods. Hardwood floors, high ceilings, and a pool. They didn't think they would have to wait too long to sell it. 15 price cuts, and 2 years later, they still haven't had a suitable offer. Oh, I feel bad for them because 15 price cuts and 2 years later, they're just chasing the market, and they probably were too high at list, and they're probably still too high if they haven't had a suitable offer. That's actually pretty key. Have they had offers and they just continue working? Have they had offers and they just didn't like them? The offer maybe the market was offering what the market was willing to pay. So that's kind of a key word there. I just hope we end up selling. It's not so far down below our asking price. Puts us in debt. I hope so too. That would be horrible. I don't know what they paid for it, so I don't know if they purchased at the peak of the market and now they're only trying to sell, just a few years later and the market's not at the same thing. I mean, that would be hard. I feel for them. Areas apartment market is sagging. So I'm going to skip over the apartment segment, not because it's not important, but because the video is going to get way too long and I don't focus on rentals. Suffice to say that, yes, the rental market is expensive. Currently, we do have, they just finished several like higher end luxury style apartments. And that is affecting the rental market here. And investment companies have built apartment buildings here, which one would think that they are not going to just invest somewhere that they don't see upside potential. So put it there. Then they mentioned the condominium condo situation down here. They had to bring in the tragedy that affected 98 people in Miami. Again, I'm going to just focus on the single family home market versus the condo or rental markets. Then this person is saying that there's no job opportunity. She came here because of her employer, then she was laid off. She just opened a permanent makeup studio and is struggling to find clients during the off season. I'm sure she is. It's the off season. There's way less people here that services, especially service industry services, say that 3 times fast. They do see a downturn during the off season market. And it says she just opened. So did she just open during the low season? That would be a difficult time to open a business that's a service industry focused business. So I wish her luck. I hope that she does well. Cost of living down here doesn't match the wages. Paradise. So that is not an incorrect statement. Again, this is just some person's statement, but it's not an incorrect one. That is one of the struggles that the city of Cape Coral discusses often at the city council meetings that I've attended and attended virtually as well as in person. They are always trying to figure out, and they're strategizing solutions for the cost of living versus the cost or the wages that are actually available in the city. So when you're moving here, you just need to be aware that the company infrastructure, so the type of businesses that offer higher paying wages aren't necessarily located near or in Cape Coral. I think our highest paying sector would be the health industry, followed by public service. So keep that in mind. So yeah, the cost of living is high here. It's super close to the Gulf. It's a vacation area. It is a higher cost of living, that is for sure. Home builders who can no longer make their numbers have pulled out of construction. Probably also not an untrue statement in generality. Yes, if they can't make their numbers work, they're not going to continue to build somewhere where their numbers aren't working. One project, a partially constructed concrete block home, is listed at Freshwater Canal. So Freshwater Canal, that's not Gulf access. Drywall is up. Roof is okay. There are builders that operated on business models that don't work in the current market. So I don't know if that is one of them that they are referring to. There are also there were a few companies that there were issues with. So I don't know if this is one of them. But in general, like there are a lot of national builders, D.R. Horton for one, Lennar, that type of thing, that they just have purchased large pieces of property to build on, and they're not going to do that if there's not actually upside there, as well as a lot of custom builders that are still operating and selling homes and are on the MLS. So then they're talking about investors are also running for the exits. Some rented out homes but are now competing with cheaper multifamily developments. Cities' Airbnb rentals drew less interest as soon as Americans began traveling abroad again. Okay. Yeah, every city where people were coming because they couldn't go elsewhere. It's just a dumb statement. I'm sorry. It's just a dumb statement. Yes. Now that people can travel outside of the country, they're going to pick that if that was one of the things they wanted to do over coming here. Yes. We did also have, because we are a retiree and also we have a lot of people with second homes here. And one of the ways that they offset their mortgage was to offer them as an Airbnb. We did have a saturation of short-term rental properties. So that also, I think, is normalizing out, and we're going to kind of see the effects of that in the next couple of years. These buyers have stopped investing in Cape Coral. Well, I'm not necessarily saying that that's an incorrect statement. I still have investors that are savvy buying certain types of property here. I think that just if you're looking to buy a home that doesn't have something very special to it, it's just kind of, I guess we'll call it, I don't know. I was going to make a comment about Walmart, but I don't want to say that. His aunt is one of them, recently sold her home for $200,000 less. When the fundamentals stopped adding up, it was either that or I don't know how she's losing $49,000 a year, or just off it and get the tax break on the loss. Again, I don't know what she purchased her home for, so if she purchased it at a super peak time and then she's looking to off it right away, probably she is going to have to sell it for less. But I don't know. And then they're talking about back to 2008 when Cape Coral was the epicenter of the subprime mortgage crisis. Good gravy. They're really digging deep. They're digging deep. I'm not even gonna talk about that because I mean it's 2025. This time, many Cape Coral homes were bought with cash. Correct, there were a lot. New regulations require strict underwriting and more money down. Also correct. Still, economic uncertainty and the increasing costs of home ownership are causing prices to fall fast again. The economic uncertainty maybe is an increasing. I don't think that is all what's causing the prices to fall fast again. Again, we've talked about this whole time. We're coming off of a crazy peak sales after COVID. Yeah. This person moved from New Jersey, is also pivoting from construction work to starting a salad restaurant. At the same time, he is selling his waterfront home with access to the Gulf to move further inland. Property tax and the flood insurance are going up so high in the next 5 years. Okay, so I wish him well on his business. I do hope he's researched and understands the high season versus low season markets for a service industry business, but I'm going to make that assumption he did, and selling his waterfront. So as far as the access to the Gulf and moving further inland, yeah, people need to purchase and understand where their risk level of risk, what's the word I'm looking for? Where they're how risk averse or not they are. So in the city of Cape Coral, and actually Florida in general, if we're going to talk about that, we've got homes that are located in Zone X, which is a non-flood zone, Zone X 500, a less non-flood zone, and then the rest of the zones. So those two I'm doing in air quotes if you are listening, because technically you can't call it a no flood zone because they're all different levels of flood risk. Zone X and X500 currently, at the time of this recording, are not required to carry flood insurance if you carry a mortgage. So the mortgage company, if you are in a Zone X or a Zone X500, won't require you to carry flood insurance, and it makes your insurance cheaper. If you are located in an AE or anything else with a mortgage on your home, you will be required to carry flood insurance. And yes, flood insurance has increased. It's increased countrywide due to all the flooding everywhere. So that is a true statement. So he's made a decision that his where he wants to be for his risk as well as his expenses isn't there. So that makes sense that he's selling his waterfront home. Property tax and flood insurance are going up so high in the next 5 years. Well, possible that they are going to continue to go up in the next 5 years. I think that a lot of that is just a lot of that is fear, but also it's, fear based in a little bit of reality that it probably will continue to increase. What is your outlook on the Florida real estate market? Join the conversation below. Maybe I should tag her in my video. In summary, the majority of the numbers don't support the claim that the worst housing market in America is now Florida's Cape Coral. Home price has been battered. Oops, just kicked my phone. That was real poignant at the end of that. If you want to find out more specific information about Cape Coral, living in Cape Coral, the market in Cape Coral, give me a follow. I like to pull real numbers and show real data points, and I can show you exactly where they came from. And then if you have any questions or concerns about what different areas in the Cape mean or anything, let me know. Put it in the little comments below. Do my contact stuff. And I thank you and appreciate you for watching what's probably grown to be a very long video. Bye!